Good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for joining us today. Today is Monday, December 18th, 2023, and we are here for a work session in our Commissioners Conference Room at our Larimer County Administrative Services Building in Fort Collins. We welcome you and thanks for joining us for our work session with Leslie Ellis and our Director of Community Planning, Infrastructure, and Resources, as we have a work session with a fairly full agenda. I am Larimer County Commissioner Jody Shad-McNally, Chair of the Board of County Commissioners, and I'm joined at our conference table by my colleagues, Larimer County Commissioner Kristen Stevens and Larimer County Commissioner John Gonzalez. Also joining us at the table is our County Manager, Lorenda Volker, and our Assistant County Manager, Lori Kadrick, is also in the room. We have several folks who are here, but I will just turn this over to Leslie Ellis, who will introduce our guests and welcome everyone. It's so great to see you.
Okay, good afternoon, Commissioners. We do have two items that we have guests for today, and then Rebecca will have some updates after that. We'll start with updates on the natural resources regulations, and Chris Fleming, our patrol captain and visitor services division manager, is here with Aubrey Hilt to update you on those, and they will likely appear on a future admin matters agenda, probably in January timeframe or so. So with that, I'll hand that over, and then I'll introduce the second item when we're ready for that. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Chris Fleming, Larimer County Department of Natural Resources. I'm the Visitor Services Division Manager. And with me today, I have Senior Ranger Aubrey Hilt from the Horsetooth District. And we are here to discuss and bring to your attention the regulation updates for 2023. This is something we usually will bring to the Commissioners every other year, and this will be any new regulations, so we're better aligned with state and federal regulations, any tweaks to existing regulations that we may have for management purposes, and then any new additions. This has been through quite the public process. It's been brought to our Parks Advisory Board, where it was approved on an action item last week, and then we will be bringing it to you for consent agenda within the next month. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Senior Ranger Hilt.
Hi. Good afternoon, Commissioners. So as Chris explained, I've got this broken up into updates, which are kind of those tweaks she was talking about to our existing regulations, and then we'll go through the additions, which are new regulations that we'll be adding to our booklets this year. So the first one is to extend the 14-day rule year-round and add for it to apply to waters. So right now, folks are only allowed to camp on BOR property for 14 consecutive days within a 30-day period. The way that our regulation was originally written, it only applied to part of the year. So this one just brings us up to speed with what the BOR would like us to be maintaining on their properties. And then it also applies to waters now, since folks can moor their boats on Horsetooth and Carter Lake, and so we want to make sure that folks are abiding by that. A6 changes the campsite capacity for Hermit Park, so it just makes that capacity uniform across all of our campgrounds across our system. So right now, that's 1 camping unit and 2 tents, or a total of 4 tents or 8 people. So Hermit Park, it was up to 2 tents, so we're extending that to 4 tents now, and this will effectively remove Regulation A12, which diminished that for Hermit Park. F12 is going to expand the restriction on flight apparatus, so this just adds some additional descriptors into this regulation to keep folks from launching or landing self or motor operated apparatus on our properties. So again, just a tweak to make sure that we're encompassing everything and that we are staying with the spirit of what this regulation is supposed to be getting at.
I'm going to pause you just for a moment. Commissioner Stevens would like to ask a question. Thank you.
Does that include, is drones one of the things that's included in that, or is that more like people flying?
This is more like people flying. There's a separate regulation that we have for operating a drone.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm. And I'll just chime in that I have been hiking, especially at Devil's Backbone, where ultra gliders are flying over the top of my head. So appreciate this. Thank you.
Any other questions so far? Okay. Regulation I-1 expands the restriction on types of waste left being waste being left on properties. Again, just a tweak and expanding what we run into. So this extends now to chemicals, hazardous waste, needles, and human waste, which unfortunately are things that we encounter at the parks. So just making sure that our regulations reflect that. Regulations U1 through U4 are being updated to restrict unregistered vessels from being stored on our properties. So right now, you can't operate an unregistered vessel on the water, and now we're extending it to either storing it or possessing it on our properties. Regulation V3 is going to restrict affixing an orange flag to a vessel for a down skier. This was more of just a tweak to the verbiage. Right now, when folks are water skiing or are towing a person behind their vessel, once that person's in the water, they're supposed to have an observer who throws up a yellow flag, which signals to everybody else in the water that there is a person in the water. What we often see is that folks are like taping this to their boat, which totally negates the purpose of it, that if your orange flag is always up, then your orange flag is never up, right? So this just clarifies that the orange flag can't be affixed to your boat and that you need to have somebody observing and lifting it at the appropriate times. Regulation W2 now allows non-motorized vessels within 150 feet of swim areas. It originally said no vessels, which did not match what we were doing out in the fields, because we do have kayakers as well as paddleboarders who are usually within 150 feet. So now it just disallows any motorized vessel. Regulation W25 requires boater education course for folks between the ages of 14 and 17, and this is a new requirement from Colorado Parks and Wildlife. So we are implementing this just to match up with them. We'll be doing education on this, and then enforcement will begin in 2025. Those are all the updates that we have. So before I move on to additions, do folks have questions on those? Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yeah, so is the minimum or the minimum age 14 then for somebody to drive a boat? Drive, is that the right word? Steer a boat?
As long as they have the boater education course, then they can operate as low as 14, but they have to have a parent with them.
Gotcha, okay. That's probably a good idea. I mean, previously there was just, you could just be 14 and there didn't.
Previously, it was 16.
Oh, okay, gotcha, okay. Thank you.
All right, so for the new regulations that we are proposing to be added, A13 is to exceed the checkout time for a campsite or cabin. This is a very common issue, especially for walk-in campers that we don't already have payment info on file for. And so this is just to help folks understand that there's a checkout time and we need them to either vacate the site or extend their campsite in time for that. Where this becomes an issue is when we have incoming campers and it kind of jams up our system. It doesn't allow our maintenance folks to come through and clean out the campsites, clean out the camper grates, things like that. This will be a recommended verbal warning and a ticket if they've been previously warned. A14 is to leave trash or similar items in a cabin. Again, unfortunately, a common issue. We want to make sure that we are leaving our cabins and other amenities clean. So again, just making sure that our folks who are camping with us understand what our expectation is. This is a recommended citation if it's an egregious or excessive amount of trash. A15 will add to camp in a designated area without a valid reservation. Again, a common issue, kind of gets at the first one there of just making sure that folks are making a reservation before they're camping, either in a campsite or a cabin, teepee, etc. This is a recommended verbal warning as long as they're able to make the reservation online in front of a ranger that's contacting them. A16 is to display lighting which disturbs other visitors. We are more frequently getting reports and complaints from campers about other RVs or camping situations that have really bright lights, or we also have encountered a couple times some like cool laser shows. So this is really just getting at that lots of folks come to our areas for lots of different reasons, and we want to make sure that folks have the ability to get the experience that they're looking for. This will be a recommended verbal warning for anything in the campground and more of an opportunity to educate folks on the value of darkness and why folks sometimes come out to our places to camp. F14 is adding to violate any sign posted by Larimer County Department of Natural Resources. This is more to apply to short-term signage, things that we put out if we're working on a trail, if we're doing any sort of updates. This will be a recommended citation just because it is signed and it's kind of an overt action for someone to skirt around that sign and enter an area that is probably unsafe for them. F15 is to walk or operate a vehicle on the ice. We currently have this regulation, but it was combined with an ice fishing regulation, so it was really hard to find if you were looking for that. So it's a new regulation in the fact that we pulled it out and made it a standalone regulation, and this is a recommended citation, specifically because the ice on our bodies of water is not very reliable. It freezes and thaws so often that it just makes it not very good ice, so we want to keep folks safe. I-8 is to burn trash within a campfire grate. Again, another common issue. It makes it really difficult for our camp hosts and our maintenance folks to clean out these grates, and this is a recommended verbal warning, again, unless it's an excessive amount of trash. J5 is to damage a cabin. Surprisingly common. So our current regulations didn't address this very well, so we added a regulation that clarified the language of damaging a cabin or any of the amenities that are provided therein. This is a recommended citation depending on the level of damage. J6 is to metal detect on any Larimer County DNR property. The reasoning for this is metal detecting is an activity that generally results in folks wanting to dig or unearth something, which is not something that the BOR recommends on their properties. So this is a recommended verbal warning or a citation if they've dug a significant hole or unearthed anything. Q10 will be to use live bait where not permitted by Colorado Parks and Wildlife. This one's just to align with CPW. We often have a lot of folks using bait at Sleepy Hollow up in the canyon, which is not allowed. So just giving our rangers the better ability to keep up with CPW's regulations. T6 is to require the display of a white light for paddlecraft between the hours of sunset and sunrise. This is a very surprisingly common recreation time for paddleboarders. We've always unofficially spoken with paddleboarders about, hey, it would be really great for you to have a white light. Right now, CPW regulations only require them to have one that they are able to display in enough time to avoid a collision. And when you are paddleboarding, usually by yourself, it's a little bit hard to paddle and emit a white light. So we've always had conversations with folks and said, hey, it'd be great for you to have a light, maybe a headlamp. And they are generally very understanding and respectful of that. So this is just formalizing that request. Regulation W32 prohibits operating a hydrofoil, electric foil, or sea scooter. This is also to align with CPW regulations. These are kind of a new recreation mode. For those of you who aren't familiar, they're about the size of a skateboard. And they operate on the water surface. They don't create a wake, and they can go up to 30 miles per hour. So they're often going above wake speed in a wakeless area, which makes them very tough to see. And so it can be quite unsafe. It's hard for other boaters to see them, and we just want to make sure that they're staying safe. And they're not allowed by CPW, so they've kind of flushed it out. So we're hoping to come in step with them. So that's all the additions that we have. Any questions about those regulations? Okay.
Commissioner Kvalas, I see your hand is raised.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, colleagues. I have two questions. One is, I noticed in the material that we received, there was a public input period that you guys made available to folks, and I saw that there were comments. Could you speak to that? Was there actually a survey, or was it just, folks having the opportunity to offer comments? And either way, how did you incorporate some of that input that you all received? That's my first question. There's a couple in there.
Thank you for the question, Commissioner. I actually have a slide for that. So we did provide
sorry
an,
about
nope, it's an excellent question.
It's a good segue, good segue.
We talked before
Sorry.
this. So we did provide an open forum for folks to submit comments and feedbacks. It was posted on My Social Pinpoint. The process was open from November 16th of this year through December 7th. It was presented on Social Pinpoint. They would go and have the opportunity to click on this survey. It presented the information very much in the same way that I just presented it to you, with the regulation number and what the change was, and what the reasoning for that change was. We had 120 folks visit, or individual users visit that site. We had 8 stakeholders leave 9 comments. One of the comments was a duplicate, and through the comments, there were no objections, and actually quite a few that said they were fully in support of the changes. I believe you all got a copy of the comments in your packet if you would like to reference them.
Thank you. And my second question, and if you're going to address it, then
This
you
is my
can
last
just
slide.
wait. But you have one more slide?
No, this is the last
Oh,
one.
well, that question then is, how are we going to inform the public of these changes, to make sure that folks know? And then it seems like some of these things are a little tricky to enforce, but could you folks comment on that, please?
Yes, Commissioner, good question. Typically, when we do these updates to the regulations, we do anywhere between a 6 month to a 1 year information, and just educate on, especially the new regulations. The tweaks, we've already been kind of educating the public on, but all of our brochures will be updated with all of the new information, and any new regulation, it's typically a 6 month to 1 year education and not an enforcement.
And I think we've made progress regarding the brochures. I think we're doing them in both English and Spanish.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Certainly, Commissioner. Go ahead, proceed.
That's the end of my presentation. So if folks have any additional questions, I'm happy to take them.
I would just add on, I failed to mention it before, but after your feedback and input, then we would incorporate those additional edits and changes, and then it would go to the county attorney's office for their review, and then it would come back for consent for the commissioners.
Commissioner Stevens, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I'm fully supportive. Thank you for bringing these forward. They all seem like really common sense kind of issues. I suppose as things arise, you kind of add to the, and it's unfortunate that people are leaving things behind or damaging cabins, and some of the behavior is, we definitely want to address. So I think you've done a good job, and thank you for bringing this forward, and happy to support it when it comes forward on consent.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'm certainly appreciate all the work, and I know you guys live and breathe these interactions and situations on a daily basis, so certainly supporting what you guys think is best, especially with some of the cleaning up in the cabins, and certainly done my fair share of picking up dog poop bags on the trail. So I'm curious with the paddle boarding. Well, first off, thank you all for the work. I know you guys are putting yourselves out there every day and trying to balance helping with folks who maybe aren't following good practices, but also making sure everyone has a great experience. So I want to thank you for that. With the paddleboarding, you talk about a headlamp, but if we're out there, and knowing that I've been doing a little bit more of this near my house, if someone is doing sunset or sunrise and they just have a headlamp that's going forward, it may not always be able to see if someone has a light on the back. So have you thought about if, someone has a little tiny pin light? Because I do a lot of hiking at 3 a.m., so I have lots of different headlamps. The reason that's why I'm thinking about this, and everyone laughs, but I have a variety of lights for different situations. So is that something to be concerned about, that maybe we should have them have something on their board? Because also maybe they fell off their board and you can't see them in the water, but maybe see the board. So I'm just curious about the safety of that too.
Absolutely, and it's a great question. and was one that we actually talked a lot about and are in conversations with Colorado Parks and Wildlife. Currently, there are no regulations or requirements for any type of nav lights on paddlecraft, and that is one of the considerations that we are looking into, and we'll kind of just to continue watching the trends, and I know Colorado Parks and Wildlife is watching that as well. It's rare, but we will put a regulation in place if we feel that it's a public safety issue. Sometimes it's easier for us to go through that process than it is for CPW, but we really do try to stay aligned because it's confusing with the public. So I think it's something that everybody's monitoring and discussing as far as having a navigation lights requirement in the future, or disallowing them at night. So we're still having those conversations and discussions.
Okay, I appreciate that. Just,
Absolutely.
I know it makes sense to have them so we're not having different regs on different bodies of water, but it also sometimes, you might feel it's a big, important thing. So especially since we have, like Car Lake, some of them are down in, deeper without light, that would be interesting to see what that looks like. No, I support these, and I appreciate you guys having the public feedback opportunities, and look forward to learning more about them, because I'll probably get questions and I can understand a little more. So thank you for sending the packet ahead of time. So do you have your recommendations for this, and do you have any other questions for us on this?
No, Commissioner, I think we were just going to come with the information and see if you had any other questions, concerns, or edits that we might want to incorporate into the document.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, Commissioner Gonzalez?
Well, I just want to say thank you for your work, and I too support the changes.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand raised.
You know,
Okay. Happy holidays. Have a good one. Thank you.
Christmas. Happy
Okay,
holidays.
our second item, you've had some conversation about fees before. Rebecca presented this maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, and what you're seeing now are just some kind of fine-tuning edits and the final version of the fees, as well as some new special event fees to be proposed. They are on the admin matters agenda tomorrow, so it probably looks familiar. You may have seen it in that packet, and I believe you also have a hard copy up at your place now. So I'll turn it over to Rebecca Everett, our Community Development Director. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Rebecca Everett. This is a kind of an update, a follow-up and culmination on several conversations with you all that have occurred over the past few weeks about different items that are coming together in the form of fee updates. So first, I'll actually start with the second handout that I handed you, which is the building permit fee schedule. So there are 2 items, or actually really 3 items from community development related to fees on your admin matters agenda tomorrow. First is updates to the building permit fee schedule. Second is updates to the planning and engineering fees. And then third is re-upping the equity fee reduction resolution that relates to the planning and engineering fees. So on the building permit fee schedule, a couple changes that were informed by direction from you all is the addition of a code compliance fee. That's a $100 fee that we talked about that relates to as-built permits. And that fee would only be charged when those permits are associated with a code compliance case and it's the person, the current owner who did that work without a permit. So we wouldn't be penalizing future property owners for work that a past owner did. But that's the fee that we received direction to add that into our building permit schedule. The second fee that was added for building permits was the wildfire site assessment fee. That's based on direction from the work session you had last week with emergency services to add a fee specifically for review in Larimer County's wildfire jurisdiction. So those reflect implementation of some direction from the commissioners. We have also incorporated, moving on to the planning and engineering fees, we incorporated a wildfire review fee as recommended by the sheriff's office into the planning and engineering fees as well. So that's a new addition since we last discussed these fees. And this new fee schedule reflects 100% implementation of the planning and engineering fees based on the fee study that was conducted in 2022. So the first half of these fees took effect this year in 2023. The second half will take effect January 2nd, or are scheduled to. And we made, as we discussed a couple weeks ago, we've made several revisions to streamline the fee schedule, make it easier to implement administratively and easier for our customers to interpret and understand as well, in addition to some fee increases that relate to 100% implementation of those fees. And then finally, well, not finally, two more things, sorry. Second to last, we've added special event permit fees based on our special event work session that we had a couple weeks ago. And what we have done with those fees is created 3 tiers for different event types. And the fee is not changing for events that are in the first tier. So that is the current fee that we have now. There's a $100 fee for any nonprofit or community group, $200 for a commercial event, and then it goes up from there with Tier 2 and Tier 3, and that's based on the number of attendees, the nature of impacts to roadways, adjacent property owners, adjacent neighborhoods, and the amount of resources, county resources needed to review the special event application and support the event. So for example, road races that require a lot of back and forth to decide on routes, this allows us to get a little more cost recovery for those events that have a little bit more impact to our roadways, to our neighborhoods, and require a lot more coordination time. We have also, within the special event permit fees, added a new fee, a natural resources fee. And really, this is an extension of a fee that Natural Resources already charges for events that happen on natural resources properties. But we've made a couple of changes. First, we would be applying that fee to any events that are directly adjacent to natural resources properties as well, such as the road races, where there's not actually a presence physically on, Horsetooth or another DNR property, but which experiences the impacts and where Natural Resources is reviewing those special event permits. And then there's also an increase in the natural resources fee for Tier 2 and Tier 3 events. So again, where there's kind of an intersection point with a natural resources property and there's an increased level of impact, there would be a greater fee on the natural resources side.
And I'll just chime in really quickly to say that Dalen and Chris Fleming, Dalen Figs, the Director of Natural Resources, have all had input on this, as well as others in engineering and other teams, and Rebecca's done a phenomenal job of leading this and coordinating this, but it does reflect the input from the other teams and departments as well.
Yes, thank you, Leslie. And then the last thing, and I'm happy to take any questions at any time, the last thing is the update to the resolution declaring an equity fee reduction. So this is a small project fee that was authorized by the commissioners for implementation this year in 2023. And was set to expire at the end of 2023. So this resolution both extends that initial resolution that you adopted, as well as revises some of the categories to allow for a little bit more specificity and to add a couple more categories, such as affordable housing projects and accessory uses on agricultural properties, as well as expanding how we define small businesses a little bit. So those are the changes that you'll see in your Admin Matters packet, and I wanted to spend some time here with you all in case there are any questions, since there's a lot that's contained within those items.
We've had a lot of talks about this, and I know that Ms. puts it in one document. Can you tell me, I'm trying to look for specifically where that is on here, the equity fee, which page is it, 3
Yeah, it's the very last page of your stapled packet here has the resolution itself. And then within the memo on page 2 of the memo at the front of the packet, there's a description of what is currently in the equity fee resolution as well as the proposed changes.
I see it. I must have not seen that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I was looking back in the further down. Okay. Colleagues, do you have any other questions? Commissioner Stevens?
Yeah, I don't have any questions, but thank you for bringing this forward. Certainly supportive of it. As Commissioner Shattuck McNally was saying, we've seen it kind of come in pieces, so it's kind of nice to see it rolled up into one document. I'm happy we're providing some clarity around the equity fee reduction, so I think that piece is important. But yeah, I do support the fees and then just the streamlining the fee schedule so it makes it easier for you too. That's important too. So thanks for bringing it forward, and happy to support it when it comes before us.
Thank you. Commissioner Kapaz, any comments or questions?
Thank you. Thanks, Rebecca. I guess the additional category for accessory uses on agricultural properties, one of our favorite topics, farm stands. Do farm stands fall within this category of consideration?
So farm stands or farmsteads? Can I clarify?
Farm stands.
Farm stands. So yes, a farm stand would be considered an accessory use generally on agricultural property when they're selling produce or other products from that property. And so if, for example, a setback variance was needed for that farm stand or some other kind of planning action was needed, then that use would be, or that case would be eligible for a fee reduction.
Thank you for answering my question.
And farmsteads, just to clarify, since I mentioned that, which is essentially an accessory living area on an agricultural property, already has a lower fee, a reduced fee in comparison to accessory living areas. So that's another way that the fees provide a little bit of, the fee schedule provides some relief for agricultural uses.
I just appreciate the work on this. It's a win-win for everyone. We're trying to cover more of our costs, but also make this more easier and accessible for our customers, but also, important for staff to kind of eliminate some of the extra work and create efficiency. So I think this has achieved all of that, and so I just want to say thank you, and I will be supporting it. I think it's kind of captured all our conversations. I was just reading through the equity thing again, because I know we had a long discussion on that, so I appreciate you guys capturing that well. So thank you.
Thank you. It's nice to have several items come together in one document.
Okay, I don't think we have any further comments.
Thank you, Rebecca. I think we can move right into your updates.
Yes, thank you. I have a couple updates from the Community Development Department. First, I wanted to mention just one other item that's on your admin matters agenda tomorrow, as in case it raised any flags or sparked any questions, but there is a resolution accepting an annexation denial from City of Loveland. That's something that I think you've probably seen a few times in the last few months, so it's fairly routine. The City of Loveland, the property was eligible to annex into the City of Loveland, but it will not be receiving water or sewer service from the City of Loveland, and so Loveland declined annexation, and so the development application would then be processed in the county instead, and that's all in line with our intergovernmental agreement with Loveland. And then second, we've gotten questions as we've been bringing short-term rentals to you all about how many more are in process from the pre-June 1st batch of short-term rentals. We ran a report and checked in on the status of the applications that we have in progress. And we still have between 30 and 40 short-term rental applications that were in process before June 1st. Not all of those will necessarily go to the county commissioners for a decision. Some of them may expire before any action is taken. Some are going through a building building life safety inspection first. They may not pass their life safety inspections and proceed forward. And some may be decided at the director level rather than escalating up to the BCC. But that's how many we have currently still in process prior to the effective date of the new code.
Well, we appreciate that update. That was a little lot more of a number than I thought, so thank you. Okay,
That is it for my updates. Thank you.
thank you very much.
And I don't have any updates for you other than to wish you a very warm and wonderful holiday and Happy New Year.
Yeah, well, thank you. And I'm sure we all wish you a very wonderful holiday season to you and yours, and Happy New Year. And I know we'll be all ready and rested to hit the ground running with more land use items and hearings here soon. Colleagues, do you have anything else you'd like to add? Commissioner Gonzalez?
Well, I mean, just grateful, both of you and your team, and I'm glad that we'll have a bit of a pause in land use related matters in the next couple of weeks, I think, and then I guess we'll prepare for 2024.
Okay. Well, we're going to give you the gift, a very good gift of time back today, and a gift to ourselves as well. So we just appreciate your work in bringing this all forward. And I think that's all we have. So at 2:08, we are adjourned. Happy holidays, everyone. Take care.